Hello, sports fans, and welcome back to the NRL SuperCoach BDE podcast. We are the best draft experts. Absolutely pumped to unpack the first team list Tuesday. That's right, listeners. It is finally here. We are going to dive in today and help you out with all those, I guess, round one pickups where you need some improvement. So, without further ado, here he is with a beautiful haircut for us. Simon, take it away, sir.
I thought you were talking about Toddy, actually, with the old dome. Very good.
There we go. There's some bald jokes happening already. Holy,
loving it.
early doors.
We're not balders here, listeners. Shout out to our less hairy men out there, or women. Good luck to you.
Nah, play on. No, it's good to be here, mate. It's first team list of the year. It's always an exciting time, both classic and draft. But for us as draft players, there's always a few sneaky ones that classic guy might call cheapies, but for us, they're opportunities off the free agency list. So a bit happening this week.
Beautifully said, mate. And we'll also, listeners, will unpack, as we look at the games, those whose draft value may have already changed a little bit, Todza. Coming in from a place where you're going to have to batten down the hatches, old son.
Yeah, mate, we're going to get smashed in Redcliffe, but we'll get to watch a bit of footy beforehand. Hopefully on Thursday night, get some footy in, and then we'll see how we go over the weekend. But I'm excited for the week, and there's a few good games coming up. So, yeah, I'm excited.
Good stuff, man. Just feel it pulsing out through your veins here. This is exciting times. Game one, lads, is in fact on the Thursday. So, seeing as this is not at the northern beaches of New South Wales all the way up to sunny coast, unaffected, we think, other than it still may well be a wet game. I imagine the rain's going to at least go that far, Simo.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I think it's it's obviously going to be in a safe enough place where the footy should be all good. So a few interesting things with the teams. Obviously, the Chooks have had a lot of changes with their roster without Swali, Manu. Sammy Walker obviously injured, Brendan Smith. So there's a bit going on here. It's good to see that Toddy's mate Mark Noah Waka, whatever it is.
Nawaka. Yeah, he's a beast, mate. He goes good.
He'll just be known as Mark on this for
Marky
from
boy.
now on.
Let's go, Simo. I'm with you, Marky boy, and great respect to the man. Give us one go, Todza.
It's Mark Nawanga Nitawasi.
Nawanga Nitawasi. We got
that,
mate.
Boys.
Marky boy, Nawanga Titanasi. There we go. Added a TT. Don't know why. Let's just pass. So, Marky boy, straight up. No surprise his name, Simo. Is Marky boy someone that you could start in this matchup?
Look, he's someone that I'm interested in just in general. Like, I did like Toddy's shout pre-season that this guy's just an athletic specimen, really. He can jump, he can run, he can catch. He's got all the physical traits you really want in a player. Obviously, he hasn't played a lot of NRL before. Is obviously the big knock on him. So it's one of those ones, like, if you're looking for a fourth CT dub, I'd have him in that range. I don't mind him as a number 4. Ideally, you'd leave him on the bench round 1 just to sort of see what he's got and what the Roosters have in general. But, if you own him, I see there's probably going to be a pretty fair scenario where you're going to want to start him.
I'm just going to ignore the comments of our listener, one of our most loyal listeners there, not interested in what you're selling, to be honest. Dursto. Robert Toya, unless I've got any pronunciation issues there, young fella's finally getting a run here, Todza. Can you fire him up in this matchup?
Yeah, I think it's the same as Marky, mate. Like, Toya's got a pretty SuperCoach friendly game. He's got a few mistakes in him early doors and can't find his way to an injury. But, you played him pay too much for him on draft day, and he's probably going to give you some 4 CT up value in this one. So probably can fire him up.
I think so, mate. Same with Tupu. I know we're not as excited year on year. He tends to do it just enough to get by. And
Does
there'll be some
everything
tries.
too,
He does, mate. He does. The big news, though, for me is Nat Butcher named in the 13. Siwa Wong was the favourite, I think, leading in even after that last trial game. Nat Butcher coming in, huge boon to his value, Simo. And if you drafted him as a sneaky third to RF, I think you're pretty damn happy with that.
I do not agree with that take.
Love it.
I'm actually Toddy and I were talking about this pre-podcast, actually.
Mm-hmm.
For Nat Butcher, I much prefer him on the edge playing 80 minutes. in the middle, just I don't think he gets more than 60 max.
Okay.
And he'll get through work, don't get me wrong. Like if he can get 60 minutes, he might still get you like a 55-point game or whatever. But yeah, for me, I just see him as an extra guy to be rotated through with the rest of the front rowers there. Obviously, Collins plays decent enough minutes. I see Angus and Radley playing basically 80 minutes there on the edge. Connor Watson will play almost the same. So, yeah, I don't love it from that Butcher, if I'm being perfectly honest.
Interesting. See, I think that's what I assumed. If you're drafting that Butcher, you're looking at a 55 average and be pretty happy with it as your third 2RF. But I hear what you're saying. It has taken away the chance of a 65 average, which he has hit before when playing on an edge.
Yeah, I just don't see. Yeah, I don't see a chance he hits 80 minutes to really be what he could have been on the edge. For me. So, does the increased workload in the middle make up for it? It may do, but if I had to put my money anywhere, I'd say it's probably a bit of a loss of value. To be fair.
Well, that's an obvious early. I'm going to call it a sell high option, Todzer. There'll be those out there that think this is a decent get then, given that he's now named when the bench looked very, very likely. Could be a sell high moment here.
Yeah, possibly if you've got someone in your lead that's all about Nat Butcher. I think anyone that listens to this podcast or is probably thinking the same as Simo. But yeah, if you can get something back for Butcher, someone with a bit of upside, someone like Fini Fuiaki or something like that you may take a stab on. You could definitely go for that. But yeah, I'm with Simo. I think Siwa Wong takes plenty of minutes here from Nat Butcher. They're going to kill each other. I think this whole entire rotation is going to kill each other.
Okay. Naf White obviously startable while Spencer Linew's out. Could be an interesting one if he has a couple of really good weeks, because I think there'll be just so many middles here. It's going to be hard to trust him for any more than that sort of decent PPM 45, yeah? Both in agreement?
Yeah, I think it'd be fine. Just one last quick comment on Butcher. I think you guys are right in the sense that there'll be a lot of leagues out there where they see him named at 13 and they'll see the boost in value thinking it's, oh, geez, look at him. He's got a starting spot, number 30. He should be amazing. Yeah, I'd be recommending a lot of people out there to just see what you can get for him, because I'd be selling pretty quickly.
For those who went cheap in the second row, me, Victor Radley playing on edge is absolutely beautiful. He would have cost you nothing on draft day, and he'll probably return very serviceable numbers there. So good little pickup. We don't have to provide any depth on this one, boys, but Sandon Smith, could you start him? If you drafted him, let's just go a 10-team league where you may have options to pivot to. Todzer, yay or no?
I wouldn't be starting him this week. No.
Simo?
Do I want to start him? And then is more of a different question. Like, I don't want to start him, but there'll be a lot of 10-team leagues out there where he was the 9th or 10th hooker drafted, having the duel. Same at halfback.
Yep.
So do I want to start him? No, but would I start him? I think there's a lot of situations where I would, because there's just not going to be better options, I don't feel. So, yeah, I'd rather bench him, but don't think many people can.
I think, honestly, against this Bronx forward pack, which I think is pretty light on once you get around the front row, the edge back rowers, it could be a field day here for Big Gus, for example. I'm just not a fan of what I'm looking at there for the Bronx. So if they score just enough points, I think Sandon is an okay hooker start. I think he's an all right option with a little bit upside thrown in there. 1 try assist and a couple of goal kicks, and he'll be okay. Over to the Broncos. If you believe the preseason, Shibasaki had ousted Mariner from the starting side. I'm still going to believe it when I see it. But that does mean that both of them are going to start in this matchup. Mariner's the start. He's at least a 4 CT dub. Can you start Shibasaki, Todd Mound?
I wouldn't be. I think I'd be pivoting some better options throughout, to be honest. I just can't trust it.
Yep. Jesse Arthur's bit of preseason hype. Had a great game in that the All-Stars. I saw some people in Classic at least were thinking, you beauty, 300 odd K, let's bring him in. I couldn't do it myself, Simo.
No, but yeah, I wouldn't be too keen either, but I will jump to Arthur's defense just a little bit. Ever since the All-Stars game, I thought he's looked pretty good. He's looked fit, he's looked fast, probably in career best form, I'd imagine. So I'd probably be throwing out. It might be a career year for Jesse Arthurs for whatever that's worth. So
Career best form doesn't mean much for Jesse Arthurs.
just saying.
You heard it here first. Top 10 CTW in the year. Put it on the board.
Get him on.
Yeah, come on. Look,
Yeah,
haven't you boys
I
learned?
like it.
Didn't you learn from Jacob Little last year? Eh? Come on.
Hey, mate,
True.
I like it. I like it and respect it. It is. There's a little something there, isn't there, Simo? He's playing on the left with, obviously Reece Walsh on the sweep with a more competent halves pairing as well. It could actually work. I don't hate him as a stab, and I think the matchup's pretty good as well.
Yeah, look, the bar is low for him to beat career best form. Let's be honest. But yeah, left wing, good team, looks good. Yeah, that's all I'll say.
All right. You're starting your hunt. Adam Reynolds is potentially someone who was drafted alongside another starting half. I have to think with him goal kicking here, which we presume he's fit enough to do, he's a decent sort of top 10 chance for halfback this week, Todzer. Pretty much a no-brainer, I think.
Yeah, agreed, mate.
He's an okay start until he gets injured. That's really going to be the case, which sucks, but it is what it is. I'm going to go Corey Pakes. The story here that he has taken the opportunity with the injury to Blake Moser. I hate that because I'd love to have seen Moser get this chance, and I'd be saying he'd be very close to a top 10 hooker. With Walters on the pine, Corey Pakes starting, and he definitely wasn't first choice. I think for example, I'd go Sandon Smith over Corey Pakes.
Yeah, I would too. I mean, we know Sandon Smith's going to get the 80 minutes. Pakes will get spelled by Billy, so yeah, probably all you need to know about that.
What rotation? I'm going to stick with you here, Simo. The rotation that's going to go on in the back row here, mate. Good luck if you can figure it out with Piakura on the bench, Gosiewski getting a start with Ricky there also. What the hell's going on?
Yeah, it's not a great trio of players, is it? When you look at now that Carrigan's pushed up to the front row, at least on paper, it just when you get to that 11, 12, 13, you just go, oh, geez, it's a bit weak. But
yeah,
Ricky will get his 80, you'd imagine. He seems to have knocked down that role there. Obviously, Madge has come in, so things could easily change. But for what I think could happen, I imagine that Gosiewski will play 60. Piakura comes on for the last 20, 25. Obviously, he can cover injuries and HIAs and stuff. But yeah, if all things go to plan, I'd imagine a 60-20 split.
It's an interesting one, isn't it, in terms of the minutes then for Carrigan and Haas. It ever so slightly concerned here when you've got Jensen and Big Willison on the bench, Todzer. Like, I think we've all just assumed that Haas is still a gun and Carrigan's a gun, and they are, and they're big minute players. But is this to potentially preserve them going into likely a final series?
Yeah, I don't mind the going down the preservation route. Like, I do think that Carrigan will go into that lock role, and one of those boys will go up into the front row. I do think that's how the rotation will work. But Haas is an interesting one. Still think he gets his. It's just I think Madge will look after him early doors, probably a lot better than Kevy did, just for back a season. And he's had a couple of injuries in the last couple of years too. So, yeah, I actually don't mind saving him a little bit because Haas, even in 60 minutes, is going to put up like a decent ass score. Like he's going to be that guy anyway. So if you get solid like 50, 60 out of him, it's just as good as any other front row anyway.
I think so, and it could make him more impactful, Todzer. We've been waiting for that season. Why can't he do an AFB close to the try line? Like, it seems like, I'm not saying he's as good as damaging a runner in that part of his game, but he could be if he was fit, like had fresher and could charge at the try line against tired defenses. Yeah. We'll see. Good shout, mate. All right, that's in terms of the Bronx for me, lads. That's about it. I couldn't start Gosiewski myself. I think that's way too risky. Way too risky.
Yuck.
All right. Looking forward to that. That's a good, like, for me as a Thursday night game for SuperCoach, there is so much at play here, boys. Like, Teddy's career year last year, just outstanding. We've kind of got him as a fade this year, but, tell you what, if he doesn't make near 30 runs a game in this Rooster side, I'm not here. Just going to run. Run and run and run. All right, on to a likely grand final showdown on Friday night, 5 p.m. The West Tigers versus the Knights. I nearly straight-faced it until your giggle there, Mr. Todd.
The spoon
I tell you what, mate. The Knights, it'd have to go very wrong for them to get the spoon against what your Warriors dished up the other day.
I shouldn't really be throwing stones, should I? What we gave up on the weekend.
Yeah, look good, CHT in attack, didn't he? Yeah, real good. the West Tigers, without Jerome Buller, it really takes a lot of gloss off this team for me, boys. I had a look at it, and you suddenly go, where them points at? I don't know. I just think they need that dynamic gentleman from the back. Heath Mason as a one, especially in flex league, Simo, is he someone you could plug and play?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of ordinary flexes getting around in several leagues out there, so the bar's not super high.
Yeah,
it's not a shot at anyone in particular.
Yeah, whoa. I was like, who am I running? Oh, yeah.
Who are you?
I got it.
Who are you running? Are you running
A certain
Jai
Bunnies fullback, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, cut from a very similar cloth, I will say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, these sort of plug and play fullbacks, I guess, are potential options. They're not waiverable. Not that we are doing waivers at the moment anyway, considering it is as free agents. But yeah, pick him up, throw him in there. Just don't expect the world. He should be safe without. He shouldn't break you, but he's probably not going to ton up or anything.
That's right, mate. And we've obviously offended Toddy with that my harsh retort about his Warriors.
Sorry, boys.
That's all right,
mate. Front door. My bad.
That's all right, mate. I just thought maybe the storm had taken hold, mate. So just look after yourself.
I'm back,
right?
boys. I'm back.
We're all good.
Very fair.
All right. So given this is a matchup that, although, Sharks, Panthers showed us that pre-season and lack of games doesn't stop you from flinging the pill about, what a bloody game of footy it was. If these teams are in decent shape, it should be points. So I'm going to greenlight Taruva, Dewey, and Skelton. No objections, lads. Seems reasonable.
No objections from me.
Simo?
Yeah, I'm not massive on Taruva. Just
yeah,
I wouldn't be running to have him in the lineup, but I'll probably be a little bit cautious on him personally. But the other two, I'm fine with.
I think you drafted him as a 4 CT dub, and it's hard not to be curious. Like he, big signing for them, gets over the line. But I get it, mate. Maybe he's your 4th, 5th sort of option. Fair play. Obviously, Galvin, Luai, Terrell May, Todza. How excited are you?
Boy,
see the big boy?
I cannot wait, and I'm really hoping Power's still on for this one. I want to see him play 65 minutes and just pump out 70 plus, baby.
Yep. Talon De Silva with Tristan Hope on the bench, probably not a go, I wouldn't think. Fanua Pole, boys, there's one that I wanted to bring up because I liked what I saw in parts last year. He's a decent player, but are there just too many middles here that's going to ruin him?
Look, it's going to be an interesting rotation. Like if Terrell May does take a lot of minutes, like Toddy's obviously expecting, then I think it's probably why Twal is a bit of a mirage as well, if that's the case, because people are going to look at the 13. Yeah, your best, mate.
Still one of the best voice notes I've ever heard from you,
Twal! We'll share that with the listeners at some point. But yeah, continue, Simo. Sorry.
Twal is just essentially going to be playing front rower sort of rotation minutes, I'd imagine. You've obviously got Royce Hunt, Jackie Bird, Sione Fainu, all middle players at this point in their career. Obviously, the two big props can play decent enough minutes as well if called upon. Obviously, Jackie Bird, who knows what's going to happen there because he was sort of touted to start in the 13 as well. So, I'm not looking at this 13 at 12 and sort of reading into it too much. I know that there's been a few questions on him. So we'll probably get to those a bit later. But I think Pole, to your point, to your question, is similar to Twal in that. I think his rotational minutes will be a bit hard to predict as well. I don't see him getting massive minutes because obviously that'll be probably more Mays go. You're probably going to get 2 80-minute second rowers here in Fainu and Seyfarth, I'd imagine. So, yeah, if that does happen, then it probably makes Pole and Twal not much more than a 40 to 45 minute play this week.
I just don't hate him as a second FRF, Simo. You make very good points, mate. It's just we talk about the elevators, one up, one down. Twal later on, Bird later on. We're not huge fans of Royce Hunt. I feel like he's riding the elevator up for Fanua Pole, showed that he could do some stuff. I don't hate the stab as a second FRF, and he just happens to get 5 minutes more than we're expecting. There is a 50 average potentially there. So Good analysis, though, Simo. Royce Hunt, as I said, we're not interested in. Jackie Bird, do you even hang on now, Simo? Sorry, Todza. He was a great hope at CT Dub. He's just gone, isn't he?
No, thank you. Don't want a part of that.
Ruben Porter, do you stash in the hope that he takes over Safeast or Safeast gets suspended inside 2 minutes of the first game? I like Ruben
I wouldn't
Porter.
be stashing
I think-
Porter. I like him too.
I know.
I wouldn't be stashing
He's a good
him.
player. Yeah,
it's
a bit of a
you
shame.
know I'll be yes here, right? You know I'm a yes with this. I think
You and I both, mate.
Yeah, we mentioned him as a stash in in the deep leagues out there
We
because
rate him.
Safeast's just a suspension waiting to happen.
He is. I'd love to see Porter in there with an 80-minute role on an edge with Jerome Buller playing. So, interesting one indeed. Over to the likely winners of said grand final. Now that rightfully Jack Cogger has been named in the 7, it's a good-looking side. The darling of late in the draft, James Schiller, has in fact been named. Is Marju going to be on the left, Tods, where we're absolutely pumped, or is he going to stay on the right where he sort of ended up moving last year? That's the big question.
That is a big question. I couldn't tell you, mate, to be perfectly honest. I'm not too sure what's going to happen. What has Schiller played right for the Raiders, I think?
That's what I'd remembered it as, and that makes me moister than an oyster for Greggy Marju on the left, because if that's the case, he could prove easily somewhere near back where he was a couple of years ago. Even if he's not, 60 plus is almost a guarantee on the left, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, even for Classic, I'm all about Greggy Marju this year. But yeah, draft, you probably got him a really good value just because of the fall off he had from the year before. So yeah, I'm all about Greggy Marju.
All right. Could you play Schiller in the matchup? I think yes. He's a decent enough dart thrower. If you drafted him as your fourth,
the Tigers, mate.
It's a decent rip, isn't it? I don't mind it at all. It's not this year, mate. They're gonna come good. Don't you worry about that. Yeah. Tigers 16th. Fans, hang in there. poor Warriors, eh? Nice. All right, Fletcher Sharp. I really don't know what you're supposed to do here. Like, I love it. You know, the fact that he's come in here. He's an exciting young player. Supercoach wise, I'll ask you as an owner, Todd. You got him at fullback.
Oh yeah. That's because I got terrible fullbacks, but that's
you do.
If I could start him in the CT Dubs, I would, mate. If I had someone there to really take on the fullback role, I would. But look, I'm happy to start him. I think he's going to play like a really good, running 6 role. Him and Pong are going to link up well. Even in the trials, Pong was stepping into that 6 role with a bit of Fletcher Sharp at the back, so they were interchanging. I do like that. He's just that kind of guy that can create for himself too. So we've seen on the wing. Even last year, I think he killed me with like a chip chase down the sideline. Like, I know that's from the wing, but that's the kind of play. Like, that's just a general footy player. Like, he enjoys doing those kind of things. So I'm all about him. I'm going to fire him up in this matchup and hopefully ride him to a victory.
Love him. Big fan. For those who've listened, absolutely loved him last year. Thank you, sir. I like him, but CT Dub, he's a lock for a CT Dub for pretty much anyone in a 10 team or above. I think it's going to be exciting to watch with some very consistent upside, and at some point he's going to score 2 line break tries or more and score 100. It's coming.
Ooh, yeah.
I've got some optimism for 2 front rowers here based on this bench, boys. Low minutes, probably suspended at some point, Jack Hetherington. Brayley is going to spell Phoenix. Brodie Jones, Matt Croker, more back rower, front rower-ish type guys that I don't know if they offer too much from the bench. I get the feeling one of Jay Safe or Leo Thompson are going to be very serviceable this year, boys. Which one is it, Simo? Or is it both?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a weird one because what I think will happen is I'd actually imagine that Saifidi will get more minutes out of the 2, but I think Leo Thompson will be better, and that makes no sense whatsoever. Okay. But I think Leo Thompson will get a bump in minutes as well, is basically what I am getting at with that. So put me down for a Leo Thompson Supercoach increase out of the 2, but I think they'll both go up. Obviously, it's great to see for that rotation that there's no Adam Elliott on that bench.
Huge.
Yeah. Those guys you mentioned are not going to play big minutes at all. So you should see a pretty good rotation there for those forwards. Both of them there probably worth rostering, at least if you need someone in the second FRF.
Yeah, I think that's the shout I was trying to get there, Sim. I think both are rosterable at this point just to see what shakes out. But great bench for both of those. Probably a pretty decent bench for Tyson Frizzell as well with no Adam Elliott. He's probably got some value here, Todd's up, that we weren't really looking at on draft day.
Yeah, very interesting for Frizzell. Like we're sort of talking that sort of coming towards the end of his career. What's going to happen? He's going to go in the front row, but look in the lock roll, baby.
I love that despite years of telling you that he's not as old as you think he is, that he's still got time.
Don't care. He's been around for 474 years. I think he played in 1961.
Okay. Just like haven't seen an athlete like that since Jubilee Day 1969 old stuff. Very good. All right. But Adam Elliott, obviously, if you weren't already dropping him, he's to be dropped. There's really nothing to see there short of an injury to Big Tyson. Touch wood. I guess it's been somewhat frequent as I say it out loud. All right. Moving forward to what I have just in. Some hot news just in. The game has been moved. The Dolphins and the Bunnies no longer at Suncorp Stadium. Todd's with the scoop as always. He never has his finger off the pulse.
Yeah, it's a big scoop by me. Read it about a half hour ago. Watch out.
Simo, did you know? Because I didn't. So
this is breaking news. Fresh news for me,
breaking news. Sponsors rolling in because of this. Thanks, Scoop.
Old Todd Man from the Leagues Club letting us know.
Just drove past the Leagues Club on the way home. How good.
Where in fact has this game been moved, Todza? Sorry, Scoop.
Oh, the boys let me know that it's been moved to Combank Stadium. So.
Combank Stadium. You heard it here first, folks. Love your work, Scoop. All right. Dolphins v. the Bunnies. So there's been a bit about either side here that wasn't decided until today. So unfortunately, I'm going to the biggest of news, which is Tom Gilbert locked into the 13 with Maxi Plath on an edge. Say it ain't so, Simo.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, well, we sort of expected this, didn't we? I think the last trial we saw from the Dolphins, Plathy played 12, Gilbert was 13. So, this is probably one of those ones that if you're a Max Plath owner, you're not super thrilled about because we sort of saw him as an 80-minute edge guy not get through anywhere near as much work as we'd hoped. Obviously, he'll play more minutes now, so that's probably a saving grace, I guess, but yeah, you'd want him in the 13, ideally. It's good news for Tommy Gilbert, I must say.
I don't know. Maybe it's the Knights thing, and I actually think they're still pretty decent players. But I think this bench has also gone very well for Daniel Saifidi, Todza.
Yeah, I mean, having Kurt Donahue in the 14 role and Ray Stone's been a bit of a smaller guy, not really a front rower. And Limuelu there in the 15, he's more of an edge back rower. So, yeah, you can sort of see this being pretty good for D-Side, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's going to go in that category of all those. Most of us don't really prioritize second FRFs, but I think he's as good a stab as any right now, even if you've just got a roster spot. There's a red-hot chance of a 55 average here. So we'll see how we go. Yeah. Junior Tupou, I'm a fan. I think he's a very talented player. He's only got the opportunity because of Bostock's injury, which sucks because he was obviously outstanding last year. Plug and play in this matchup, Simo. If you think the Dolphins have enough attack in him, he's probably a decent shout.
Yeah, I'd be starting pretty much all Dolphins in this. Maybe not Avarillo, but the rest of them, I think, look, South's defensively looked shocking in the Charity Shield. And this team's it's different, but it's not vastly different in terms of guys that are known for their defense. Obviously, Cody Walker comes back in, which is going to help the attack, but isn't a great defender himself. Campbell Graham is, so that might help a few things. But generally speaking, I don't think South's going to be a super good defensive unit this year, would be my take on that. So, yeah, I'd be firing up pretty much all Dolphins outside of Avarillo, who even himself, you could throw Avarillo as a fourth CTW if you're desperate. So don't hate the Dolphins here.
See, to me, I don't know if you have the same take here, Todds. I don't have a lot of faith in either side and think this could be a bit of an early season stinker, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
and if there is any rain, it does. But you see, Simo, your argument there that both defenses might not be that crash hot. It could go the other way. That's one of those coin flips for me.
And it just be a Dower sort of game. Is that what you're saying?
It could be, mate, because I just don't have a lot of faith in either of attack. If Cody Nikorima, yeah, I guess he flashes every now and again. I wonder if this is just a bit of a dour slugfest, but we'll see. We'll see. So from the Dolphins, lads, that's about it for me. Like Katoa is the great hope. We think he's an outstanding player, but I think preseason, Todd, you said the jump, it's just not quite ready yet. One more year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be one more year, and even just having Cody Nikorima outside, you're like he's being safe and stuff, but it's not that leadership half role you're really looking for. I just new coach this year too. I just think that Katoa's going to take off one of these years, and I want to be on him. I just think it's not going to be this year.
Roster him though, just in case, because if ever there is a matchup,
maybe
this is it.
Especially with how shallow halfback is.
You're starting Jai Gray, obviously. Hopefully, if you're a Trell owner, you had some insurance, but that's not always the case. Campbell Graham
Jai Gray,
What's that, mate?
You starting Jai Gray, mate?
I have him in one league, but not our main league. I don't know. I'm not the biggest Jai Gray man. I think he's fine as a start, but don't put me down as like a Jai Gray truther or anything like that. I'm okay to not own him.
He doesn't have the incredible upside, I don't think, but I think he'll find his way to an average that's serviceable for most. I think he's okay. He's probably not a top 10 guy though, any given week.
I wouldn't even say top 15 guy, to be honest. Fullback.
It's close depending on the
Heath
matchup.
Mason or Jai Gray? Which one would you prefer to
Jai
pivot
Gray
to?
easily.
Yeah, I would still take Gray. I would.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in a nutshell, I think Jai Gray is fine if you can start him in a flex because he's someone you're having to compare to other CTWs and that sort of thing, other positions.
Yeah.
But if you're starting him in a fullback spot, I don't think it's the best play you can go with.
All right. Isaiah Tass, is it going to be him goal kicking or Humphreys? If Tass is goal kicking, he is probably an okay for CTW start. If he's not, I'm not interested. Todd?
I can't even remember him kicking. Is he any good?
He kicked 3 in the trial, and he has kicked in previous seasons. He's not a natural goal kicker, but he's got enough in him.
Yeah, I mean, surely Humphreys can be a little bit better than that. He's a full CTW if he gets the kicking, but I mean, how much are they going to score with the Souths team?
That is true, mate. The Dow slugfest. Again, very weather dependent. If it is in the dry, maybe if Simo's green light applies. Tyrone Munro, though, on the left, he's worth a shout in this matchup. I'm very happy with him as a 4 CT dub. I don't think he's a floor guy, but I tell you what, it's hard to believe he won't cross for one line break try here, surely.
Oh, yeah, I'm all about it.
Jack Whiten, not someone we've spoken about a hell of a lot. I would love to find a way not to start him if it were me. The matchup's okay, though, Simo, but is he the one, he's opposing the herbivore, right?
Yeah, it depends where Herbie plays. We just don't really know because Herbie played left last year, but then there was a few games in the trials where Herbie was playing right. Obviously, they're trying to get that combination of where they want to play Avarillo. So, yeah, we're not 100% sure on what's going to happen. Typically speaking, though, from a South point of view, like Campbell Graham's pretty much the right centre most of the time. So, Jackie Boy will be left centre. Just depends on what the Dolphins do. But yeah, I'm not super keen on Jackie Whiten.
No.
Especially without Latrell. I think he really needs that. That extra X factor on the inside just would help him get a few extra points from line breaks and whatnot.
Because the Herb's left center more often, like he's a left center, right? I'm just thinking about last year and at the Bronx and everything. He's on the left. So I think you're probably right, mate. So Campbell Graham versus the Herb, that's pretty exciting to watch, actually. Oof. Very good. All right. Mamazulis with both Jaden Sullivan and Havili on the bench. If you combine that with the big news, we'll talk about it lock in a moment, which has just baffled me. What's Wayne Bennett doing here, Todza? And has he lost it?
I mean, I'm never going to come out and say Wayne Bennett has lost it. Like, ever.
I wanted to just throw you under the bus. You're like, I think Wayne Bennett's he's past his prime. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Absolutely not. No, look, I don't think anyone drafted Mamazelis like with these high hopes he was going to get 80 and be this absolute superstar. We saw in the trials, sometimes he looked good, sometimes he looked bang average. So I don't think anyone was overdrafted him. But yeah, Bud Sullivan on the bench, that's not great.
It's an odd one for me, mate, because I can't imagine Sullivan's doing too much else. Like, is it insurance if
Humphreys
has a
once?
shocker? Like, is that like when Ilias got hooked at halftime last year?
I forgot about that.
Oh, I hadn't.
Holy.
That was, hey,
Holy.
who's the remind me, Todd, who's the Dragons halfback to start
Yeah,
2025?
good bloke. A Lockie attack.
Lockie, Shepherd's hook, Ilias. Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Kolomatangi and Jairo on the edges. I can't understand Jairo on an edge. Go, please. I understand it's good for Supercoach for his minutes and stuff. How is this version of Jairo appearing on the edge of a NRL team? I don't understand. Crazy to me. Start him in your second FRF and be happy you've got him. That's gone very well, but it just shouldn't be.
No,
Lockie Hubner
playing forwards.
Play in the middle. He'd be fantastic in the middle. Like if Paddy Carrigan's not dynamic enough to play as a 13, well, I can't see how Jairo is. But anyway, all right. That brings us to Lockie Hubner getting the start over Tallis Duncan. Whose oatmeal did Tallis Duncan shit in here, and why was it Wayne Bennett's, Tots?
I'm not too sure, mate. I mean, we've all seen Tallis Duncan All-Stars game. Plenty of vision of him last year. Really good. Does have a few errors in him. I think Lockie Hubner has come down from the Dolphins with Wayne, so there's obviously a bit of trust there. I can see it sort of being changed, before the game as well. There's every chance that happens. But look, I don't think I'd be wanting to go out and run out and chase Hubner and start him this week. That's for sure. Just with the rotation, like I could easily see Duncan going to an edge, Arrow into the middle. Like it just seems like that's going to happen a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Tallis Duncan's done to Wayne. That's for sure.
I heard some chatter. He had a rough preseason. I thought he looked very good in the All-Stars game, and surely that's a decent litmus test. But and just re-signed. That was the bit I thought the stars had aligned. He's a tough guy to drop, boys, I think, Duncan, just on the basis of what could be with Murray's injury. I think if you've got him, you could bench him if you could. That's definitely an option. But I think you should hold Tallis Duncan just to see how Hubner goes.
Yeah, I agree with that take. I think it's, you don't want to be dropping a guy that could potentially blow up, whether he does play, eventually get a spot on the edge or whatever. But, it's a hard start at this point. I'll get that.
Very tough.
He's probably not going to. He's probably got an upside. Cap ceiling. You're going to be lucky if you can get 45 off the bench, just playing as bench forward, front row sort of minutes, and hope you could hit something. But yeah, it's probably not going to be super fruitful if you're chasing guys that can hit your attacking stats this week. What I will say on Hubner, like I don't know, like. Sometimes we're a bit quick to sort of pigeonhole players. Like obviously, Wayne Bennett's seen something. As Toddy said, he's brought him down from the Dolphins. I believe he was captain of the Central Coast Capras last year. And if you look back at his stats in the Queensland Cup, obviously take that with a grain of salt in itself. But just some of his work, if he ends up getting decent minutes, he was sort of pumping out regularly 20 hit-up games pretty much weekly. For the Capras, and some of those had big tackle stats with them as well. So just someone to definitely roster Hubner. If you are running waivers, I still think he's a decent shout on the wire because we just sometimes we make these claims on players that we just simply haven't seen enough of, and obviously Wayne Bennett's seen something in him to name him at 13. So. He's actually someone that in the preseason, I know in the Charity Shield, he was named to start at 13, and then Duncan ended up starting. So you've got to be mindful of that switch that Toddy sort of alluded to. But, early in the season, we just got to take these stabs on these sorts of players because, if you look back 12 months ago, we were saying the exact same thing about Max Plath. And
I'd say here, Simo, the big hope for Lockie Hubner and Duncan, when you look at this bench, right? I know Havili can rotate through the middle, and he probably is for a small minute role. But I think there's a red hot chance with Sean Kepi, not a big minute player, nor should he be because it's Kepi. And David Moale, who we know just hasn't got the motor yet, unless he's found it in the off-season under Bennett. It's possible, but he hasn't been a big minute guy. So there is a red hot chance here. The first 20 minutes is Hubner at 13 to soften him up and give that energy because he is a high energy guy. with Duncan to come on play the rest of the game for 60 to 65, which would still be a startable option for Tallis. I think that's a red hot chance with a freshly coming back off injury to Tola as well. So there's a lot to watch here in this game for that reason, boys, because there is value somewhere out of Mwale, Hubner, Duncan. One of them will probably be pretty decent.
Yeah, there's minutes to be had, as you said. Like Kepi and Moali get replaced by Totola and Duncan. Whether Duncan's playing 13 in that or front row, we'll see. But if Avili only gets 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and Sullivan's purely just a rotation with Mamazoulis or an injury to the halves, like obviously Sullivan's not going to affect these forwards minutes. So there is potential there. And obviously we want it for Duncan because we've seen his potential. But, we don't know what Hubner is either. So we're talking about free agency here. I don't see why you wouldn't be keen on a guy that obviously Wayne Bennett sees something in to name him there.
Stash, not start, possibly for both. With me, a slight lean to Duncan might still get a bit of value now. I've looked at the bench closely. Just a shout out there to double-digit live listeners. Shout out there to the BDEs. That's awesome. Happy to see some questions rolling in here via the app, which is great. And we'll get to yours very soon, Captain Rivalry. Good to have you aboard, mate. Dragons v Bulldogs, the game that not many are talking about, but we'll actually talk about it here, Todd Mount.
Yeah, we will.
Unfortunately, mate, the concussion has robbed us of a cheapie, at least in Classic, and possibly a full CTW option, with Matt Fine and Tuipulotu being named on the wings. Look, the Dogs were tough defensively last year until they weren't at the very back end. So the real question is, round one, can you trust either Fine or Tuipulotu?
If I was going to trust one, I'd be trusting Tuipulotu. That would be the way I would go. Fine, we've seen a little bit of him before. He's hit some scores, but look, I would obviously his spot's not guaranteed there with the name escaped me. Sione Finau? Is that the one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
There we go. Sione Finau probably coming back into that role or even, it could be Finau's. Who knows? They're sort of playing for it. So interested to see how this St. George team goes with, the addition of Val, Damien Cook. Interesting team to watch. And for SuperCoach, what kind of role does Little play? You got the Catchment boys who have got big things happening for them. So, really interesting one to watch. I'm excited for it, to be perfectly honest, this one.
I am, mate. It was a bit of tongue-in-cheek, and you are the biggest Dragons fan, so I will throw that to you each and every time.
74 teams in this league, apparently, I support.
Well, you're going to need to back a few to have a chance, mate, after watching the Warriors, honestly. Toby Couchman, this is the big news, mate, and I'm going to give you kudos because I feel you're onto this one pretty early doors as a potential SuperCoach start. This is an outstanding moment, really, for those who drafted him late, mate.
Yeah, really big for Toby Couchman. Starting role, decent enough bench with Raymond Fatal-Mariner being a back row, a little being a, sort of a probably coming into the middle with Cook and that sort of thing. So, PPM guy, Couchman, huge PPM. We've seen him play before. He's just 1 PPM per minute. So, really excited about Toby Couchman.
Yeah,
Second
that's
FRF.
A big one. Second FRF, he can if he can maintain, even if he ends up getting rotated through the bench through the year, he's obviously high enough in the plans of the gun coach to get 45 to 55 minutes somewhere there. Pardon me. So that's gone very well. Lucy hanging on, third 2RF, always a red hot chance of some upside and some offloads. They're probably going to need second phase ball to unlock the Bulldogs, to be fair, Simo. I think this team is set up for a lot of second phase ball with Gutho, Cook, and Val just running around, nipping at the heels. That's how they're going to score points.
Yeah, they're not going to score points with those halves running structures.
No, that's right.
It's going to have to be ad lib sort of stuff.
It is.
And
it could be okay to watch for that reason because I think it'll be a little helter skelter. Gutho crabbing across field and trying some things. As we got closer to kickoff, if people don't believe Damien Cook is a high level hooker, they've not been listening to our podcast. This is going to go very well for Damien Cook. He's going to be on the ball doing a lot of playmaking.
The Dragons' rotation in general is one of the more interesting rotations getting around because obviously we've heard whispers over the preseason that Cook's going to go and play 13 for a bit when Little goes on. They've got a three forward bench plus Little. So, yeah, there could be a lot of chopping and changing here with these minutes. Obviously, we know Sua's getting 80. Yeah, it could be RFM in like a really low minute role potentially. So, yeah,
Yep.
I'm not even going to try and guess what's going to happen because there's so many different ways it could go. Yeah, I'll just be watching it closely week 1 because there's plenty happening.
I thought it was
Emre
pretty
Gula-
interesting that Tommy Eisenhuth didn't get a bit of a run. He was pretty good last year off the bench and then also in the lock role. Like, what do you think's happening there?
Don't know if he's the most dynamic footballer, but
Oh,
I tell you
certainly
what,
not.
last year he did. He hit some weird upside we couldn't really understand, crabbing across field. I think, mate, they're looking for a little bit more dynamism when you're running those halves. So I
They
think,
still name Raymond Fatala-Mariner, so I don't know about that.
yeah,
a
maybe
good shout.
more impact technically. I don't disagree with you, mate. He
I
probably.
think Tommy
deserves
plays centers, he plays edge, and I just don't understand it myself, but that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, fair play, mate. Fair play.
I'm not sure if
he
you
sneaks
heard,
his
but
way.
Damien Cook also plays centers, so I can push him out there.
Did you know he was a beach sprinter back in his day?
Is he really? There you go. You learn something new every day.
Lads, listeners, just shush for a sec. Liz, we talked about this. We need to be careful to rehash these sort of jokes. All right. All right, we're back, listeners. We're on.
Speech was about.
We're on.
Speaking of learning things every day, I learned that Redford likes to play board games in his spare time the other week. So
I do play some board games in my spare time, and with the impending cyclone, mate, you better believe we're happy to have him on board.
Oh, great. Plenty of board games to be had in your household.
Shout out to our lady listeners, mate. We've got plenty of board games to play here. So hopefully you're doing that with your loved ones.
I think we had one in the chat, actually.
Very good.
Durso. There he is.
Welcome on board. The Bulldogs. Pretty settled side with the absence of Kiraz. Lads, read a report that he may be coming back sooner rather than later. So if you're in leagues where he can be had, which I think there would be, some upset people, he screams buy low just on the red hot chance that he's not out for too long. I think that's pretty easy
A
shout.
weird injury. Nothing all preseason. There's absolutely no murmurs at all.
Yeah.
He apparently hadn't trained at all. So that's crazy. That's really bad by the Bulldogs, to be honest.
It is interesting, the whole, the back and hip connection as well. I wonder, Todza, a referral injury, I wonder if that's related, but we'll see. Pipe down in the chat there, Dursto. Unbelievable, mate. All right, looking at this side, can you green light for me? I'm not going to say Marcelo Montoya. I don't want to have that conversation. But Bronson Jerry, Critter, Blake Wilson. Can you green light any of those three? Just name them and we'll move on.
Yep, I think against these Dragons, we predict them to be bottom of the 8 pretty easily. So I know
bottom
you don't
of the 8
necessarily. Yeah, I do, but I know you don't.
Bottom of the 8 is pretty lofty. So I think they're a chance of making the 8. I don't know about bottom of the 8.
Oh, sorry. When I say bottom of the 8, we spoke like to miss the 8. Like a bottom 8.
Bottom 8. 9 to 16. Nice.
Yeah.
When you said it like that can't be what he means.
Well, I think we think the opposite, don't we, Redford?
I think they're a chance with a very congested, crappy bottom of the 8 that they're a chance of being in that sort of 7 to 12 range because of a good coach who knows what he's doing. And I think as long as Gutho, Cook, and Holmes all stay fit, they're just going to be on the ball a shit ton, which is good for Supercoach too. So I don't think they're a great team, and that halves is the worst I've pretty much seen. But there's a lot of crap sides this year.
Who would start Kyle Flanagan this week?
Yeah.
Not an expert, I'll tell you that.
Whoo, no.
So the green light.
Start the Bulldogs because I think the Dragons will be shit. So say like that.
Just for those who've been following us pre-season, Todza, the Canterbury number 7, just checking who is in fact starting at 7 for the Bulldogs.
Toby Sexy Sexton. There you go. Get it up. Yeah.
That's actually pretty well done. Well done on the rehearsal. You've
been practicing for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Sexy, Chabby, sexy.
To Bexton. So, could you start him here, mate? against the Dragons?
Ooh, geez. Yeah, look, it's the matchup to start him. Doesn't have a huge ceiling, Toby. Like, we saw a little bit glimpses last year, but I mean, I wouldn't be comfortable starting him. I know it's up against the Dragons, but this is Matty Burton's team, really.
Yeah, it could be a good week to own Matty Burton, I think.
Mm.
That's really it. Kurt Mann, we know the Kurt Mann story with Salmon on the bench. It's probably not a go. All right, to the question from Captain Rivalry, who's hung on and watched us all the way through. Shout out to you, mate. The question here I want to ask the boys is Burbo, Ben Trebojevic, minutes in round 1. Sneaky, tough question, possibly a CTW start for Mr. Captain Rivalry. Go, Todd.
I think he plays 80. You got Waddell on the bench, Bullymore, and Sipley with Simpkin. I think all three of those forwards run through the middle. With then I got Takiaho and Paseka. Jazz will be absolutely cooked after playing hooker. So I think all those boys run through the middle. I think they'll let Burbo stay out there for the 80.
Okay. Simo, agreed?
No, I don't agree. I think Burbo plays decent minutes, but I don't think he plays 80. I'll say 65 minutes Burbo. I think Corey Waddell spells him at some stage because you're going to have 80 in Olakawatu. You're going to have 80 in Jake. So obviously Simpkin and Jazz are just going to be the hooker rotation. So that just leaves Bullymore, Sipley, Waddell to rotate between just the front row if Burbo was to not get a spell, and I just don't see that happening.
Yep.
It's a coin flip whether Jake gets a spell or Ben, but most weeks Jake's going to play 80 minutes at lock. So, yeah, I'd probably say Burbo, probably not the week to start him.
Yeah, I think the question there, the follow-up from Captain Rivalry, is in fact what I suspected, that Burbo as a CTW option, I would start Junior Tupou easily over Burbo. I think you got a chance of a better 4 upside combo.
Yeah, make it 3.
Beautiful. I think that was a very interesting moment. The Tigers couldn't find a way to keep that man. I think he's a very good young player. Takiaho. Look, he's been all right, Todza. When he's played previously in the NRL before he had that sort of rough finish, he was absolutely a front row starter for Supercoach purposes, who was pretty damaging. Sneaky offload Simo as well from memory. What he got cranking? Am I reading that correctly? Or was he more just the power guy?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was a prolific offloader, but he'd throw one or two here and there. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's known for it. Definitely more of your 16, 17 hit up sort of front rower where he just get through the work.
Yep.
Tamalolo-esque.
Paseka, Takiaho, Sipley, Bullimore, and Waddell. So there's going to be someone there that emerges. Paseka has been absolutely a viable option in the past, but coming back from injury. Takiaho has as well. Thankfully, no Josh Aloiai. I suddenly like the look of this Manly side a hell of a lot better just with that omission, personally. Who is it? Who's the start here? Like, I want to say Paseka, but now I see Takiaho there and Sipley on the pine. Not so sure.
Yeah, it is honestly a coin flip between Paseka and Takiaho here. I would probably lean Paseka because he's younger. Takiaho's 33. I was looking at it today. Come back from the Super League. Could easily be wrong on this. It's one of these tight ones. I'll lean Paseka, but yeah, with no great conviction.
No, easy stash for me is Takiaho just in case. Because if he's ousted Aloiai, you can see how a coach would love him if he's at least got a bit of run about him still. You can obviously drop him easily after 1 week if he's not there. But I think he's worth owning. Over to the Cowboys. It was no secret Tom Duffy was a chance, boys, of getting this job. And also, I have to presume, Will Goalkick as well. I think the matchup's not that bad. And for those that might be missing certain halfbacks, they draft pretty highly in Mitch Moses. Tom Duffy is possibly someone you could slot in. Would you trade for him, though, Todd? If Mitch Moses now the news about the indefinite injury, is he someone you could go out and get?
Well, when you're looking at the other options that are available, we talked about a few, Toby Sexton, like Sandon Smith, those kind of guys. Like he's sort of just as much as a dart thrower as any of those kind of guys. So he comes through with like a lot of hype about him, but I wouldn't be sort of trading away too much to get him. Yes, I think he's going to go really well. He's going to goal kick, but I wouldn't be trading away the earth for him.
I think, mate, he's a very good trade candidate because people might have your opinion there they don't really believe yet. But I really think there's a red-hot chance he's one of those sneaky, decent, at least like a Luke Brooks of yesteryear, Simo, for 55+, with a little bit of a shot of upside with the goal kicking. Now, the Cowboys, if you think they're terrible, probably not keen. I still think they're going to be very good at home and in the right matchups to score points with this side. And I think he's going to be better than Clifford. So, yes, he could end up losing the spot to Clifford if they struggle. But, mate, with the goal kicking for mine, I think he's as good a pick-up as any, especially if you've lost Mitch Moses. Anything from you, Simo?
Oh, no. So we actually asking me a question then? That's more of a statement. I was like, we're just going to slap Tom Duffy here because you own him? Is that where we're at?
No, I just think owners, I'm not going to be, it's a coincidence that I have Moses as well, so it made me think about it. Moses could be out like fairly long term was the news today, which we'll cover in a minute. Yeah. So you're gonna be scrambling.
Yeah, you'll be scrambling 100%. Like I with Toddy, like I wouldn't. It's so early in the season, you're not going to move a lot to get him. But yeah, to your point, if you own Moses, perfect time to strike because you have to offer a lot. Because we haven't seen him play, so you might not get a lower opportunity. That's the beauty of it being earlier in the year. So, yeah, worth a shout.
That's what I'm thinking about. Like he goes and scores 60 this week just because the matchup's probably not horrible against Manly aren't the best defensive side going around. It's going to be that much harder to pick him up, so kind of worth a stab. Worth bringing up, though, at the end of this potty, boys, if not Duffy, who is someone you could be comfortable playing each week to get by without Moses? He's probably the only one I've seen so far that kind of fits that mode because I don't want Toby Sexton. That's no thanks, or Ilias.
Yeah.
The rest of this side, Braden Burns will start. Loves scoring line break tries in doubles, does Braden Burns, for whatever reason. It is probably going to work on that right-hand side, feeding off Drinkwater, boys.
Yeah, like look at what Kyle Felt's done the last few years. Obviously, Kyle Felt's a pretty prolific try scorer, one of the best we've seen in the NRL. But let's not also overstate that. Like, there's a lot of tries that Felt scored last year that a lot of wingers could have scored just for the beauty of Drinkwater. Obviously, Kyle Felt would have scored some himself that he did more for. But as it pertains for Braden Burns, like just position, like right wing, Drinkwater's side. Yeah, the fact that he's there means he should be an option every single week to just get catch and put down, and that's the beauty of where he's named. So I don't hate him as a sneaky shout.
Tozzy, you were on this one when we did the front row podcast. Big Sam McIntyre has actually found his way to the starting lineup now. At least when Big Taumalolo isn't part of the rotation, mate. I mean, this could have gone very well for him, and he's another one of those potential FRF2s that probably not many would have been on.
Yeah, look, we've seen a little bit from Sam McIntyre last year. I thought he's a likely type, big sort of bloke. Really happy he gets a start here. The bench is a little bit worrying with Griffin Neame, Edwards, and Cohen Hess. I know Cohen Hess coming back from a injury last year, but those three guys are going to go through the middle with Jordan McLean there. So Sam McIntyre, we've seen before play a bit of high minutes, but it's more of a watch and see, but he could return second FRF value here. Yeah.
No, it's interesting because typically he's not always played 80 minutes because he does tend to gas a little bit. We've seen it, the 60, 65 minute mark often for him. With this bench, I mean, Carl Lawton could rotate through there potentially. This is another one for mine that it's really just a big wait and see on the rotation. Curious, minutes for Cotter. Does he rotate through even on an edge maybe if Nane doesn't play? I'm not sure. This is an odd one for mine. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's potentially a scary bench. Like, I couldn't be McLean or McIntyre doing a lot with the forwards they've got on that bench. Like, the fact that we've even said Cotter's name in that potential question mark for minutes, like that just makes me think that there's just no chance that McIntyre can come out of that. So, yeah, It's a great shout from Todd, but I just don't see, without that bench looking different with a back or something on it, it's just too many forwards. If Reece Robson's going to play 80 minutes, then, it's going to be tough.
And on to the final game of the round, boys. The Mitch Moses news, we may as well just segue that in here, is in fact out indefinitely with this foot injury. Now, indefinitely could just be they didn't give an actual estimated return, but obviously that's gone. It's a brutal outcome for those that have kind of been caught a little unawares. It was spoken he was all going to be good for round one. So a little bit of that sneaky business goes on, but it is what it is. We've got to find options out there. The question in the chat there from our man Dursto, Volkman worth a handcuff? I know how I feel about it, Tots.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
Yuck.
flat no.
I'd rather start Toby Sexton.
Agreed. We'll come to that question in a moment, and welcome, Cal. So it makes it hard, boys. Can we any other options then? Just thinking about that Moses situation, plug and play or someone that you could trade for. Anything else?
Yeah, there's no way to shine it. It's not a great situation, especially if you drafted Moses with no backup. Look, it's definitely not the matchup for Volkman, and you guys are probably well within your rights to poo-poo him a lot. Only thing I'll say is he did look better in the trials. Obviously, he's had his injury issues, getting clearance and all that sort of stuff. And an away matchup at the Storm is definitely not the week to fire him up. But
yeah, that's right.
He's someone that come week 2, if you see something from him against the Storm, you could look at him. I'm not going to completely shut down the Volkman handcuff question there from Dursto, because I think there is some merit to it, because we're just comparing him to just really not much at the halfback spot. You mentioned Ilias, Sexton, Isaiah Katoa, guys that really haven't shown upside at all at 20 points. So, obviously Duffy's the number one. If you can go out and trade for him, that's the play that you'll message before, Chris. We don't hate that shout. Or if you can target a team that drafted 2 halfbacks, whether it's a Fogarty Reynolds combo, if you try and get the last of that, whoever they're not starting out of those guys. You're really up against it. So tough choices. For me, I would play it safe and just obviously Duffy's out of the situation, out of the conversation here, but of the options we've mentioned, I'd probably just play Sexton and just hope he gets me 50.
Yeah. I actually think that's another really good shout, listeners. Simo's brought up there. Reynolds could be very gettable to start the year, and there's a chance at least you'll get a little run from here, hopefully get Moses back. That's a really good shout, Simo, and I think you'd be able to get Reynolds pretty cheap as well, to be honest.
Yeah.
Good one, mate. All right, the rest of it here. So you're not starting Jake Tungo or Sean Russell unless you're absolutely desperate. It's just very risky. Given where this game is being played. Your favourite mate, Joe Ofer, Simo. I am starting him this week alongside Junior Barlaw, just out of necessity with Big Tino on the shelf. I'm just bringing him up and not asking you because I know what advice you're going to give. So I'm going to go to Todza. Joe Ofer, mate, had a run last year, if you look at his Supercoach scores, once he started and got minutes, which is kind of gross to say out loud, but it was actually easily FRF2 value. Is he worth a little stab, mate, or you just can't stomach it?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, I prefer to start, a guy like Toby Couchman. Toby Couchman every day of the week over Joe Ofer.
Well,
it's
mate,
not even close.
I'll trade you Ofer for Couchman. I'm down. Thank you. Put it on the board. Deal. Of course, you'd rather start Toby Couchman, but those are a bit desperate. Your Ofer, your Junior Barlaws. It's a tough little spot. Jackie Williams, though, the great hope that you were on, Todza. I poo-pooed you pretty hardcore preseason, and I apologise wholeheartedly, sir. That's another one you've got right, Scoop. Who are your inside sources, and how did you know?
Nobody. I don't know, mate. But I wasn't really expecting him to play edge, to be perfectly honest. I was expecting him to run through the middle and play in the front row, just with I can't remember the guy's name. Katonga. I think he's out this week. He was scheduled to be the back rower there. I think Jackie Williams is that guy that can play in the middle and play some big minutes. So I like him on the edge. He'll still get his, but yeah, I was actually hoping he was going to play in the middle. But I think 2RF
drop the pill.
only.
Can drop the pill. That'll, 2RF only. He's a tough start, but he should be rostered, obviously. Just to see what happens. If Katonga may come back and take it, you've obviously got Sean Lane on the shelf as well for 4 weeks. Cardi Party, nowhere to be seen. And, a less than dynamic version of Ryan Madison. So I don't know if Jackie Williams has got it on lock, but I tell you what, who has got a lock is Kelma Tuolungi. Welcome to the team for rest of season. Well done to the truthers out there. And boy, is he an easy pick in Classic. Holy dooly. Get on him.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, he showed a lot towards the end of last year. I think you were on him, Toddy, as well. One of another great calls for the Eels here, but loves an offload, old Kelma, so goes good.
He does. He loves a little niggling injury as well. So let's hope he has a better run of that because, boy, did he find interesting ways.
Remember last year he had that in-game hand that he gets back and he gets back and you think he's great. And then he gets like an in-game HIA. You're like, oh, here we go. Comes back, injured hand again. He's just on and every time he got injured, you message like, here he is.
I did. Here he is. Down again. And there's another one. But he keeps coming back. And I tell you what, he was a great draft target, sleeper draft target that looks like it's going to pay off. I also think the return of the Hop God, can the man just stay fit? There's a 65 plus easily, more tending to a 75. He should get minutes galore in this side. Let's be real. They need him badly.
Should do.
Yeah, it's a good bench for him.
It really is. And speaking of a team that need to rely on offloads, they need offloads to score points without Mitch Moses playing, in my opinion. Over to the Storm.
Dylan Brown wants the big money, mate. It's time to stand up.
Come to the Knights, old son. We'll look after you. The Storm looking pretty settled with Xavier Coates. I think this is a green light special for Willie Warbrick and Xavier Coates at home. I know Coates has a very low floor. There's a time and place to fire him up, boys. Melbourne Storm playing their first game of the year. We know their record. We know they're playing at home where they decimate teams. And this Eels side, don't know if defense is going to be their backbone, to be perfectly frank. Green light. Even Jackie Houth, I'm fine with him. Simo, you mentioned him pre-season as possibly a pretty decent option. I think you'll get something here. He's a 4 CT up.
Start all Storm. All.
Even Shawnee Bloor as a third 2RF, I think, is a decent enough shout here, Simo.
Yeah, I really like Bloor. I think he was someone that was going at a pretty good draft value. I think he's a solid 2, especially in this matchup. I mean, Joshy King's probably the only one that you don't start in this starting lineup here. I mean, but you could be forgiven for giving him a crack in really deep leagues too, because they could honestly, any of these Storm players are a chance of doing something this week if the Eels defend as badly as we think they might. So, free 13% on your money.
It is one of those. And obviously a lot of us, what a tough matchup for Yongi straight off the gate. But tell you what, exciting fella, and he'll be flexing in pretty much 99% of classic leagues plus draft leagues that play flex. Welcome to the flex spot, old son, across the board. So good luck to him. All right. There is a couple of questions in the chat. So, boys, we got well over the double-digit live listeners tonight. And for me, that is a bit exciting. We're on the up here, BDEs. We love it. We love bringing this to you. So thank you for the support. I'm going to jump up to a question much earlier from Mr. Dursto, who just quite frankly can't stop commenting, the big fella. Get a life, old son, honestly. I love your work, Dursto. So, Nat Butcher versus Nane. That is actually a very good question. Simo, given your analysis earlier, I think I know where your head's at.
You sure do.
Nane.
Jeremiah.
All right. Yep, we love him as well. That bench is interesting. It actually gives him a shot of playing 80 minutes as well. So I think it is Nane for me too. Todd Munn?
Oh, it's easily Nane for me.
Okay, fair play. Cal has tuned in nice and late, or at least commented late. Thank you, mate. G'day, boys. Glad to be listening to your work on a Tuesday again. Love your work, mate. Who to bench this week out of Campbell Graham, Skelton, and Sharp? Geez, you are running good if that's your 4 CT dub option. I think if we just list them in order, Simo, just in case he's got a third and a fourth option to decide here.
I'm going to go a bit rogue. I guess I'd go Sharp 1.
Agreed.
Skelton versus Graham is basically the question here. I think I'd go Campbell Graham over Skelton, but I could be persuaded either way.
Todd, deciding I'm agreeing.
Yes,
I think
mate.
Sharp, you can't not start Sharp given the preseason form. That's a lock. But the other two?
Yeah. I am Sharp, Graham, Skelton.
Yeah, I can see it's not an absolute slam dunk, isn't it? And if that game is a real in the wet, Simo, go the dry out of the two. That's a little. If you can figure that out before the kickoff, do that.
Yeah, I think Graham will be safer. Obviously, Skelton's got a bigger chance of hitting try scoring upside. We did say Graham against Herbivore, so far out. Maybe I'm talking myself into Skelton here. Yeah.
I think potentially that matchup with the Knights is a real red hot chance of being open. So I don't hate Skelton. There's some bloody good options, Cal. Good from you, mate. Thank you again for tuning in. Dursto, mate, don't take it to heart. With just a bit of banter with what looks to be our number one fan. Love your work, mate. Thanks for the algorithm help. All right, any other questions, boys, on either, as you say, Todza, the Book of Faith or the Mighty X?
Ooh. We do. I've got 2 on the Book of Face, mate. I'll kick us off.
All right.
From our boy
Bring it on,
Anthony
son.
Mason. Here we go. He said, looking forward to the potty. Toddy, he always loves that one. Did
Hello.
Xavier Savage Truthers give up too early? Or were the Warriors so poor and made average Supercoach prospects including Strange, Chris, and Tamale look good?
Anthony Mason going straight for you and I to the jugular here, Simo. We're not going to stand from Meso, honestly.
No, it's fair play to him.
It is. He's got us. He's absolutely done us. Probably.
Do love a bit of Antho.
We do. I'm not convinced that he is going to look all that flash against the better sides where that really poor floor is going to return. That's my fear with Savage.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I am a bit of a Savage truther from way back, but I wouldn't be buying in. There's always these performances week 1 that we buy into a lot, fade into nothing. I think that'll be the same with Savage. The Warriors were just shocking.
I think if you are looking at that Warriors team, especially when they're away from home, it is going to be green light specials for their outside backs, particularly wingers. It's going to be hard not to back them. So, Cal says, "Cheers, boys. Asako and RTS are already locked in, mate. You must be weak elsewhere because you're CT dub. Obviously, on the basis of our advice, gentlemen, he's cleaned up. So
he must have read his 2RF.
Yeah, okay. No, it's good. The Tell Us Duncan news didn't make me nauseous. Thanks for bringing that up, mate. No, it's great. It's great.
Second question, boys. Daniel Grant. He says 12 versus Seyfarth versus Hubner versus Burbo. So I guess ranking which ones you would start out of 12, Seyfarth, Hubner, and Burbo.
Seyfarth gets a run in that lot. It's not a strong list, but I think you got to go Seyfarth for 80 on an edge and hope he doesn't get sent off.
Yep, Seyfarth, for sure. Hubner, good bench player. You wouldn't love to start him week 1. So
Seyfarth, Burbo, Twal, Hubner in that order. I think, boys, it'd be hard to. Twal could just get you a base bit of minutes, but at least Burbo on that matchup could do something. It's not.
Second part of the question. You would like us to rank these 7,000 players: Mariner, Arthurs, Shibasaki, Jojo Fafita, Robert Toya, and Christian Tuipulotu.
Well, I can at least say Jojo's at the bottom of the list. I'm pretty confident with that one.
Geez, with Jesse Arthur's on the list.
Yep. I mean, yeah.
Well, 0. I mean, if you think Jesse's going to negative this week, then fair play. But he didn't specify rest of season. Look, Mariner for me, I'm a Mariner truther. I think he actually is going to be quite decent, and I'd have him comfortably at least for the start of the year. Toya's up there for me, Simo. I think he's a decent enough shout.
Yeah, I agree.
Is a
Top
good one.
2. Yep. Agreed. Shibasaki for me. Shibasaki's last.
Yeah.
Tuipulotu probably subs in there somewhere. He's okay. He showed he's got a decent amount of base, but he will need the tries like he had the back end of last year. So, but he's an okay start this week, I think.
Yep. Let's go Tuipulotu, Jojo, Shibasaki.
Fair.
Yeah.
It's pretty much how I had it too, mate.
Yep.
Or did I miss something? Did we miss one?
You've done well off the cuff there, mate.
Arthur's.
Arthur's. Pentolini
Just in front of
me above Jojo. Yep.
I'll have Jojo ahead Arthur's. I think he's going to go okay this year. In a Titan side that showed they can attack well, just can't defend, I think their attack's going to be even better, personally.
This must be rest of season, obviously, because Titans have the bye week 1. So, yeah, that's fair comment.
That was the wonderful humour.
That's all we got from the Book of Face, mate.
Thank you, mate.
That's all we've got. 239 members over there and growing fast.
Yes, boy. We've had some extra support dived in this week. Tell your friends. Tell the loves of your lives. Tell your nan. Oh, yes. Everyone loves the grandmas amongst us. Get them up. They love their footy. My nan loved her footy until the day she passed, mate. She was a big fan of the Parramatta Eels. So, yeah. She had a few things going for her, just not that. R.I.P. now.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's probably what.
Simo, any cue?
Sorry, mate.
Good from you. That's all right.
Question. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Holy dooly. Wow. How's that, listeners? Right?
It's so hard to make a comment. You come out with that. Oh.
Thank you for the love, Todd. Simo, any questions in X, mate?
Yeah, we got a couple from X. I'll go to you first here, Redford. White, Twal. That's Nafahu White. Twal, Couchman or Taukeiaho? Who are you going?
Naf, easy one for me, mate. He preseason looks good. Couchman, number 2. Taukeiaho, then Twal for mine.
Todman.
Yes, mates. Same list, sorry. I would be going Couchman, Naf White, Taukeiaho, and who was the third one? Fourth one?
Twal.
Yeah, Twal. Yeah, he'll be fourth for me.
Sweet. Yeah, I've already answered as well. I can't remember what I said, but something like that. Go with the boys. Second and final one is from Rizzo.
G'day, mate.
Rizzo.
About Tamale. So, how high of a waiver would you use on Tamale? Current has no gaps in his CTW. Given it's round 1, looks like he may have job security now with Savage being suspended. So, how high a waiver would you spend, Redford?
Rizzo, love the question, mate. He did show plenty, and he's a young guy in that elevator up scenario. I think we'll be able to make that decision next week on the basis of if he does start. And I think you're looking for that. It sounds like you need that 4th, 5th rotational guy to cover buys as well. He could be as good a shout as any, especially when the Raiders play at home or against weak players.
Yeah. No, I think it's you're probably not going to go top 3 waiver because there is still that job security concern. But I mean, I wouldn't begrudge anyone that decided to. I mean, the bloke looked bloody good, didn't he? So yeah, tough one.
Yep.
Anything else from you there, Toddy? Any comments on Tamale?
No, mate, I'm pretty much the same. I would be spending top 3, like you said, but yeah, if he gets that spot named next week, and you need some upside in that CT dubs, he's not the worst shout. He looked pretty good.
Yeah, decent Kiraz placeholder potentially early season. Dursto just coming in hot again. Did you guys talk about the shambles that was the Sharks halves on the weekend? I think he's just reeling from being a Nico Hines owner. I'll be honest, given I have him in the listener league, I wasn't excited to be right that Trindle was going to goal kick. Boys, it's a good bring up from Dursto. How big a hit is this to the rest of season value if that's maintained, Todzo?
Yeah, pretty big for Nico owners. That's maintained for the rest of the season. You lose plenty of points per game. So, yeah, really scary stuff there. It sounds like it's going to be locked in, hey? So it's got great use for Nico owners who have probably spent up, 1 or 2, 3 pick. So, yeah, rough. Big hit, massive hit.
It's a big one. Simo and I had a good little bit of yarn during the Vegas games about where would he, if you were to draft today, and we're going to ask this one to the listeners, and I want to see some comment out there, you experts. Where do you think Hines should have gone in round 1? Who should definitely have been taken ahead of him with the assumption he doesn't goal kick? I'd love to hear. Simo, you and I speculated, so let's not give the listeners a definitive answer, but I want to see some names that at least are now certainly worth the debate.
Yeah, while the listeners are sort of thinking about that and getting the comments out there, I think for me, the goal kicking is one element to this, but what concerns me almost as much, if not more, is I had completely dismissed the fact that him and Trindle were going to go 50-50 in the way the side was run. When I evaluated Hines pre-season, I just thought, I mean, it's only one game, so we can't go too heavy on this, but I mean, it was against the Panthers, so you think they play the way they want to play the rest of the year. But I just thought Hines would go back to running the whole show, as he has done with Moylan, with Atkinson, with whoever playing 6. But, yeah, to see this first week and see how much Trindle actually was on the ball is almost as concerning to me as the lack of the goal kicking because, they're going to split a lot more of the pie, unfortunately. So, for me, look, I'll just see what's Dursto got here. Top of the second. I mean, that's a hurt Nico owner right there.
That's a very hurt Nico owner, but I love the opinion. And 1 week, we'll talk trades, mate. I've got a Mitch Moses plus a little bit, and we're on. Mitch Moses, Tallis Duncan for Hines. It's on. That'll happen too.
Oh, the Redford trade offers. Here we go.
Yeah, definitely get it. I definitely get away with blowballing people in this league. Yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. So I'm not as probably as dramatic, mate. I was going to bring up some names here. Should he be drafted after Reece Walsh?
You asking Toddy and I?
Yes.
Either or. Reece Walsh?
Asking me, it's yes.
Me too.
Oh,
that's a
geez.
pretty straightforward one for me now, given how things.
Yeah,
have
I think
gone.
he loses all 100-point scores now. Like it's unbelievable, like how much his hands off the ball affects his scores.
Cal's come in, which is one that definitely was where it was very close, and I struggled with this when I had the overall third pick, Cal, in the listener league. I was genuinely, if I had to choose between Turbo and Hines somehow, I struggled big time. I couldn't really split them, and I was probably going in the Turbo direction, just such as yourself, for that reason, because of the lack of goal kicking potential. So Turbo definitely in front, easy. I would have to think Hughes versus Hines becomes very close, and before everyone rushes to say Hughes, we haven't seen a fully fit Munster beside him yet, and there is a chance it's a little bit of the Trindle versus Hines. They sort of flip-flop between the upside.
Yeah, I don't want to overstate Nico because I think the Sharks are still going to be a top 4 team, and when they play teams that aren't Penrith, I think there'll still be plenty. So yeah, he's
still around 1 pick.
Look. I'm not certain on the Walsh one. Like I probably would say Walsh, but I still think position scarcity. He's basically just dropped to being on par with Hughes for me. So it's probably where I have him.
Yeah, I could live with that, Simo. That's as far as I'll go after one game. We don't want to overdo it. I'm with you. But it is, I tell you what, Trindle's involvement with his hands on the ball at least has us paying attention, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Drinky?
I'd take Hines over Drinky.
I would too. That's about as far down. I know there'd be some people out there who loved James Tedesco's average last year and would have him above. I definitely take Hines over Tedesco.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yo went third in our draft. Worth it after first week performance from Dom. Whoa. Now that is some confidence that he will in fact be the number one. Mate, Dom, was that the person who took him third? How big a Toddy fan are they? Because that makes Toddy very happy.
And get us in that league.
Yeah. Wow, Dom, the shade thrown from Todd. Wow, that's pretty bold, Isaiah Yo. I don't think that upside is something we're going to see each and every week. But, with Jack Cole in there, mate,
Smart
maybe
bloke.
he will. Imagine if Isaiah Yeo averages like 90. Oh, that would be a thing. It's possible, I guess. All right. Good question indeed. We might ask listeners, if Isaiah Yeo comes out and rips it again, why wasn't he the first overall pick? We're idiots, All right. I think that's us. Questions answered. Thank you to those who've tuned in live. As I said, hit the double digits, lads. It's these wins that keep us going. Hopefully the quality was up a bit tonight. I was watching the Wi-Fi connection in the side there, and it looks a lot better. 11 out of 10 fan of the Todd. Yes, boy. Yes, Todd. This is where you live, mate. He's even flexing as his video goes to absolute poop. But thank you, listeners. Appreciate it. Simo, fine bit of work from you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'm glad we didn't bring up the bloody Listener League draft because what a bloody shit show that software is.
Yep. It was pretty rough. The chance I'm going to say it here, boys. We've committed this year. We're actually going to come out and say the prize. We will, if you beat us this year, we are going to put together a jersey. So if your jersey of the team of your choice, we'll choose the jersey. It will be an authentic one, not a knockoff, but it will be jersey to your team of choice. So that's pretty exciting to offer this year. After sort of trying to scramble last year if we lost. So that was good fun. Todd's up. Thank you very much, sir.
Cheers, mate. Always a pleasure.
Beautiful. And stay safe, listeners, for anyone who's affected by the cyclone in Queensland. It's going to be a tough little couple of days, we believe. So, listeners, thank you again. And as always, get that BDE, India. Oh, yeah.